What's up YouTube? Punk Metal Dow here with another Cognizance is Key video. This one being about the problem that we have in our society with not really kind of getting together and speaking peaceably with each other about, whatever issues we may have, about however we feel we can improve other people's lives, so on and so forth. Um, basically, and I apologize because I have my little notes here because this kind of will tackle a lot of issues. And I'm not a huge fan of trigger warnings, but in this case, I will make an exception. If you are extremely triggered by talks of abortion, you'll find out how that fits into this later. And if you're triggered about or over talks about suicide, again, you'll find out how that ties in later. This video probably is not for you. This video will also tackle these issues, at least to some degree as well. So, once again, if you're triggered by that for any given reason, please do not watch the video, I guess. And I do have my notes here because it's, kind of a lot to cover, and it definitely kind of has to go in a very, specific order. So I apologize if I'm kind of, pausing for a second and kind of lightly reading something inaudibly. First issue, confrontation changes nothing permanently, usually not for the better. It creates hostility, revolutions, violence, etc. Okay, so throughout history, I mean, there's been a lot of confrontations. And what do these really, what do these really solve in the end? It's a temporary fix. You can kind of, I guess, quell the enemy. I don't know. I guess that's the best way to put it. But the hostility from it is still there in certain people, and they do come back. And it just seems like hostility never really, never really solves anything. Confrontation is hostility, and it never really solves anything. It just kind of breeds more problems, and the cycle continues, and we just continue to, to be looped in this and think to ourselves, oh man, what a terrible world, and I'm not huge on religion, but one thing I think that most religions have done right, granted I'm not familiar with all of them, so I do have to say most, at least the ones that, I'm aware of, there's kind of a common theme that things like violence should only be a response to someone who is threatening your life. You're enacting violence to save your life, and that you have a right to. And if you really think about it, that's genius, because if everybody in the world would follow that credo, there would be no violence, because everybody would agree that violence is not necessary. So, therefore, there is nobody using violence in self-defense. But unfortunately, we do have people in this world that do feel that violence is necessary. And I don't understand why. If people would just kind of peacefully talk things out and, work things out. And unfortunately, some people tend to think that having to stand up for yourself, sorry, the standing up for yourself means that you have to be confrontational. You have to be, brash and, I don't know the best ways to put it. I apologize, I just woke up. But there is a way of standing up for yourself without being confrontational. You can peacefully just say, well, no, I disagree with you. Please, hear my side of the story. As opposed to, well, you know what, fuck you, and things like that. It's not necessary, really. So, kind of, bringing it full circle, as far as that one bullet point goes, confrontation has just really never solved anything. And I apologize because my notes were slightly out of order, so I have to kind of get this together. Personal experience with suicidal thoughts. Okay, so here's where the trigger warning about suicide comes in. I have had personal battles with wanting to end my own life. The most recent one to memory is, and I won't name names. I won't name the name of the company I worked for. I won't name the manager. But I did have a manager at a company that he was just entirely too hostile. He was confrontational over the tiniest things, basically seeming like maybe he thought he was quelling some sort of rebellion at work. I guess I don't know. I still don't fully understand his motivations, to be honest with you. But it got to the point where I really, really, I mean, everybody kind of hates their job. Nobody really wants to go to work, but I would wake up with literal pain in my chest from the feeling of dread that I had to go into work. And it got to the point where naturally I just started job hunting. I'm like, you know what? I cannot take this place. Sorry, I have to get out of here. And it wasn't going so well for me. I was turned down numerous times. And it got to a point where it was just really starting to look grim. And to where, as unfortunate as it is, I thought to myself, if this is going to be my life, if my life is going to consist of I wake up and I have this immense pain in my chest and I have to go to work and get yelled at every single night and literally be told that nothing I do is good enough. I'm not even making that up. This guy would tell people that they were absolute failures, that they were useless, and again, he was overly confrontational. He got way too close to my face just to say something than he ever should have. And the look on his face and his tone and everything. If this was my life, I didn't want it. And I seriously had to battle, doing something that nobody should ever have to do. That nobody should ever do. And as much as the job I got after that kind of screwed me over, it was still kind of a blessing in disguise because at least it got me out of that. It helped me to not do something that I shouldn't have done. And again, that nobody should do. But it's just kind of, in my mind, an example of one of the many problems that this sort of behavior kind of brings to us. You can literally drive people to the point via confrontation that they just don't want to be here anymore. And like I've said in, numerous videos, at least two, I can't fully remember how many videos I've made this point in, but death doesn't just affect the person, it also affects the people closest to that person. These people have families, they have friends, they have boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, whatever. Um, Death is not something to just take lightly by any means. And you can, in fact, cause somebody to want to end their life if you are just constantly confronting them on their faults as opposed to peaceably speaking with them and trying to actively work with them. Um, because granted, I don't have a story of another person who was in that scenario and that's why they wanted to end their life, but you do have to figure if it's possible for one person, it's possible for other people. And like I said, part of that guy's confrontation was telling people that they're useless, they're worthless, and really kind of elevating himself up to this grandiose stature and putting everybody else down and making them feel terrible. So and granted, that's not always how people handle confrontation, but a lot of times that is. A lot of times people do get into confrontations and they're telling the other person, you're just a useless motherfucker and fuck you and blah blah blah, and really tearing that person down. And so I guess that point has really just kind of been made. There's not really too much more I can say without being really monotonous on it. there's just, in summation, there's always a better way than to get confrontational and hostile with other people. Find a way to tactfully bring up that person's issues and how you feel they can resolve them. And, if you're not correct on that, try to find someone who can help them resolve those issues within themselves and better themselves. And, just actively realize that, if life is a river and I always kind of use the metaphor that if life is a river, we're the raindrops that fell into it. While we're the raindrops, are we different but similar? Sure, but in the river, in any body of water, whatever comes into contact with that body of water, excuse me, it's not going to discriminate. It's going to affect, a large area of that water. And if, you are in direct contact with these people, if you're a raindrop in that river, your toxicity is going to come back and affect you at some point. So just really kind of think about that. And again, I'm sorry, my notes are a little out of order. So bear with me for 1 second. Video inspired by the abortion debate. Okay, so a couple days ago, I apologize. It's fall. It's getting kind of colder, so it's that season where people are kind of coughing and stuffy and whatnot. So, but a couple days ago, there was a news story about the last abortion clinic, I believe in America. That doesn't quite sound correct. Somehow I don't believe that all states in America are banning abortion, but one of the few abortion clinics, I guess. And this video was really kind of inspired by that because, so going into my views on abortion, I feel it's wrong. The only caveat being, if you know for a fact that the person will suffer their entire life for whatever reason, if you know somehow medically that they will in fact have a condition that will cause them to suffer, I could see that as mercy. However, in defense of people who would stand against me, I can also even point out that you don't know that that person could not overcome that and still enjoy life and become an inspiration to others. So it's still a very huge debate. I mean, you just overheard me make my point, but you also heard me acknowledge that my point can be countered. So that really kind of ties in the fact that people are pushing their point of view, whether it's right or wrong, who really knows, and they're not sitting down, once again, in keeping with the main theme of this video, they're not sitting down and sharing ideas. They are protesting, they are causing, what's the best word for this? They're really causing a lot more inner turmoil with the person who is having to consider this. And they're not really affecting a positive change within that person. I apologize. I'm actually going to stop recording and I'm going to pick back up. Whatever's going on is getting really bad, and I do not want to sit here and make constant noises in your ear, so the video or the audio will pick up in a second. Alright, sorry about that. But yeah, so going back to the point I was making before that, so this person is already going to have a lot of inner turmoil, rather. They're going to have a lot of conflict within themselves, and you're not really helping them out whatsoever. You're just creating more negativity within them that can really kind of come back around and affect other people, yourself included. So, just kind of something to think about. And then, since we are addressing the issue of abortion, I did want to share a thought that a friend of mine shared with me. He has a channel on YouTube as well. All Your Data Belongs to Us. If you have been watching these videos up until this point, you will recognize that name. Because I do actually do shout outs at the end of my videos for all my friends with channels. And I'm going to read what he wrote verbatim because I don't entirely know where the point started. And then I will kind of have to stop a second because he did add a little tack on at some point later in the text messaging. So verbatim, it says, okay, so you know about stem cell research, question mark, or the concept of stem cells? That the fetus is the source for stem cells, question mark? It's no surprise that the elite would do anything to prolong their own lives. Anyway, the abortions are only to cover up the fact that we as a society are basically offering up these children as sacrifices to a dark energy, aka the devil, quotation marks, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, they sell those stem cells with money, which in turn galvanized the money we use. Eventually, because the money is circulated, we all have blood on our hands. And then going down, I did want to add that this act lowers the level of consciousness of humanity. So I haven't really, in truth, had a lot of time to kind of contemplate that. It's a very interesting thesis on the surface of it. And I will say that I'm not either A, endorsing it, or B, shutting it down in this video. Just, kind of giving as many points of view as I can. Because, who really knows what's going on? For all I know, he's right. Who knows? So, just kind of giving numerous points of view to all those who really kind of, want different points of view on the whole abortion topic. But the last bullet point was basically just emphasizing peaceful talks over, confrontation, but I've done that ad nauseum. So that last bullet point will not actually be made because it's been made a lot. But if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all the typical crap that you hear at the end of every single YouTube video. If this simply wasn't for you, I have other sorts of educational / thoughts videos. I have video game related videos. I have funny videos, both video game related and non. And if this channel is just simply not for you, please feel free to check out some of my friends. All Your Data Belongs to Us does some very artistic and interpretive videos. My friend Katarina Ivory does Drag Queen Storytime, as well as Snack Box Tastings. My friend Black Angus Reviews does a lot of movie reviews and social commentary. He also has live podcasts as well. I finally got to sit in on a couple. They were definitely very interesting. Him and his friends definitely had a lot of fun. So if that intrigues you, definitely feel free to check him out. And my friend Roachhead85 plays Star Wars Battlefront 2015 and 2017, mainly 2015. But he's a phenomenal player. He has some very funny videos as well as some very epic videos. So if any of those intrigue you, definitely feel free to check out those channels. And regardless of where life takes you, here's wishing only the very best to you and all those closest to you. And have a great day. Thank you.